Very, very good afternoon to all of you. I don't know which part of Bangalore you're joining us from, but from where I am in Jayanagar, there looks like a storm is brewing outside, all set for the ETS 2025 with a storm outside. So, good afternoon and a very warm welcome to everyone joining us today. We are super excited to kick off the curtain raiser for LCR Tech Summit 2025 with a powerful panel discussion titled Building for Bharat, the Localization-First Tech Playbook. I hope all of you are ready to listen to some wonderful conversation. As we count down to the main event on July 25th, let me tell you, humans, machines, and meaning 2.0, it's not just a continuation, it's a bold step forward. At the second edition of the LCR Tech Summit, we dive deeper into the evolving dynamic between human ingenuity and machine intelligence. This year's theme challenges us to rethink productivity, creativity, and consciousness in a world increasingly defined by robotics, generative AI, smart infrastructure, and Industry 5.0. Where last year we asked if machines can serve humanity's deeper goals, this year we ask how. Before we dive into our marquee session, Building for Bharat, it's my pleasure to invite a very special guest onto this stage, Mr. Sriram Kumar, President of the Electronic City Industries Association. With over 2 decades of leadership at LCR and as AGM of FANUC India, Sriram has played a key role in transforming Electronic City into a global innovation hub, be it in infrastructure development, MSME support, reskilling efforts, and most importantly, the flagship event, LCR Tech Summit itself. He's done everything. Over the years, he's championed innovation and the adoption of future tech through initiatives of the LCR cluster, trust, and vocational skilling programs, impacting thousands and supporting all LCR members. It's an honor to have him share his vision for the future. A warm welcome to you, a rainy welcome to you, Sriram. Over to you. I think
Sir, you
Sriram,
are
you.
on mute.
Yeah.
As it happens, I'm always on mute. I'm muted myself rather. Anyway, thank you, Kavita, for the wonderful, enormous welcome. And good afternoon, friends. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all for Building for Bharat, our first webinar in the lineup to the Asia Tech Summit. So, to brief you about LCR, the unique organization that's about 33 years old, which has transformed Electronic City into a world-class industrial hub, built the infrastructure for over 2 decades, and now supports businesses of our members, irrespective of size, including MNCs, large Indian companies, and most importantly, the MSMEs, democratizing tech for innovation and collaboration by being a catalyst to the vision of Viksit Bharat. Along the way, we built organizations that support local communities, skilled people, run the best form of self-governance, in addition to fostering inclusive growth in a cluster setup. Electronic City, which contributes the highest per capita income to the economy, is a shining example of what can be achieved with focused efforts and sustained support. In July 2024, we hosted the first LCR Tech Summit, which focused on future technologies, disrupting tech landscape and presenting enormous opportunities in tune with our vision to empower companies to think big, innovate, integrate, and grow. The LCR Tech Summit 2025 is themed Humans, Machines, and Meanings 2.0, a deep dive into how technology must serve not just efficiency and intelligence, but also inclusivity and purpose. The summit brings together industry leaders, innovators, technologists, and policymakers to explore tech that matters for enterprises, for people, and for the nation. As a build up to the main event on July 25th, we are hosting a series of webinars that reflect our core themes, spark dialogue, and surface ideas worth scaling. As it stands, Bharat is not just a market, it's a mindset, one that demands relevance, affordability, and simplicity. This session focuses on how to design technology for the many, not just the few, embracing constraints like connectivity, device power, and language diversity. Today's topic are not just design choices, but innovation imperatives. The webinar brings together pioneers who are not just building in India, but truly building for India. This conversation is a perfect precursor to the Asia Tech Summit's emphasis on physical AI, inclusive tech, and tech for impact stories. As we look at how machines are becoming more human aware, this webinar grounds us in the reality of what human first really means in the Indian context. From startups to established enterprises, the localization first playbook is becoming a critical lever to scale across India's diverse digital landscape. We hope today's discussion inspires product leaders, designers, and entrepreneurs to rethink what good design means, not just globally, but locally. Let's use today's insights to challenge our assumptions and stretch our imagination because inclusive innovation isn't optional anymore, it's essential. And of course, we look forward to seeing you all at the Asia Tech Summit 2025 on July 25th at the Otera, where conversations like this one will take center stage on a much larger canvas. Have a great conversation. This is Sriram, President of Asia, signing off. And Kavita, as we speak, there's already a storm that has started. And we have teacups in front of us. Take it off. Thank you.
Thank you, Sriram. You're lucky you have the teacup in front of you. I guess you're at LCR, so you have the tea. Anyway, I think it's apt that we are starting with rain. I always consider rain as a blessing for any event. My father-in-law always said, if it rains, it's going to work well. So thank you for blessing us today. Thank blessings from the universe. And thank you, Sriram, for setting the stage with that inspiring vision. And what you said is very true. Designing for Bharat is a mindset, especially with the diversity in people, situation, conditions that we have. But before we just dive in, I just wanted to say, if you have any questions during the session, please feel free to drop them in the chat box. We'll make sure that these are answered by our experts in the end. Or you can raise your hand at the end of the session and we'll invite you on stage to speak so that everybody sees who you are. So are you ready? Are you ready for this panel discussion? It is the heart of today's conversation, which explores what it really means to build for Bharat, to build for our country, products, services, and experiences that speak to the needs and aspirations of all of India. We are lucky, really lucky to be joined by three incredible minds who bring deep insight, bold thinking, and really hands on experience in shaping India's tech landscape. So let me introduce our first panelist. He brings over 3 decades of design wisdom and a remarkable track record for transforming how we build for people. Founder of SAX, Strategic Advisory for Experience, where he leads design led transformations for large enterprises. An alumnus of the National Institute of Design, he has launched the UX movement at Infosys, shaped digital learning at AkeStep, reaching over 50 million students and teachers, and currently serves as principal advisor design to UIDAI, bringing human-centered thinking to the Aadhaar ecosystem. Please help me in welcoming Sridhar Dulipala. Sorry about that. I'm super excited you're here with us, Sridhar. So, up next, we are very excited to welcome a panelist who truly embodies the spirit of tech made in India for India. Vice President of Product at ShareChat, India's largest social media company with over 250 million monthly active users. He leads the Moj app, overseeing product strategy and P&L. He has built the biggest video entertainment platform for Bharat and held leadership roles at Meta, Walmart, and Microsoft. He had his first brush of building for Bharat, being a part of the initial team that scaled Flipkart. His journey reflects a deep commitment to inclusive innovation, building for voice first, mobile first users across the country. Mohan, we are thrilled to have you with us today. Thank you. Thank you for giving us your time. Now, no conversation is complete without a moderator. And we really have a powerhouse moderator with us today, a seasoned product leader with over 25 years of experience at PayPal, SAP, and Intuit, CEO of Spark Prod, helping founders build AI first products that scale. She has trained over 700 plus product managers, mentored startups via NASCOM and Karnataka Startup Cell. She hosts her very own, now very popular podcast, Product Talk with Malti. She is also the visiting faculty at institutions like IIM Udaipur, Masters Union, and Scalar. And if that's not enough, she has been named Woman Product Leader of the Year 2024. And today she is here with us to guide a conversation that's as sharp and as impactful as she is. Welcome, Malti, and the stage is all over to you, to all three of you, to take over and blow our minds.
Thank you so much, Kavita, for such a very kind introduction. Truly appreciate that. And thank you, Rama ma'am and Sriram sir. Really looking forward to the larger event and also the build-up that we are able to build. And I'm definitely looking, the next hour of conversations. And I really have to say, when I was kind of discussing the outline, the conversations for today, I was really getting goosebumps. On one side, we have Sridhar, who's part of the larger digital public infrastructure projects, which is not impacted. We're not talking millions. We're talking about like 1.4 billion people impacted by his work, right? And on the other side, we are talking about Mohan, who is responsible for our answer to TikTok, which is Moj, right? And it is being used by 250 million users. And not only that, I really want to call out this number. It is 100 million active users every single month, right? So just imagine the scale at which, the products that they have built are being used. So first of all, again, thank you, Sridhar and Mohan, for sparing the time out. I'm really looking forward for this discussion, right? So I'm going to start with what does it even mean, localization, building for Bharat, right? Like more than 85% of India's population is what we describe as Bharat. Of course, we I don't know if anybody has read through I think it was Bloom Ventures, these things where we divide broadly India into 3 layers, right? And building for Bharat is definitely at scale. So I'm going to start with my first question to Sridhar. Sridhar, being, I think in the last decade or more than that, India's digital public infrastructure has grown up by leaps and bounds, whether it is India Stack, whether it is Aadhaar, whether it is ONDC, there is just, we name and these things, right? And that has had a very steep impact on the user journeys. That has steep impact on one side. You have a rural farmer setup who is now using his phone to check up the prices of the mandi in an app, or you have a child set up in a very remote hamlet probably who's using YouTube or any other app in order to receive education, right? So I want to kind of, having part of the larger digital public infrastructure, what has been your experience and some key insights?
Thank you, Malti, and thanks to Sriram and Kavita also for the nice introductions, and thank you for having me here. See, the localization is it's not just what you do on the screen or at the level of that language that I should be, as a native language speaker, access something on a digital product, but it is about the cultural significance of what it means, or how an aspiration that I have is addressed through the technology. I think before we can dive into localization, we need to understand that technology has been a great enabler. And like you mentioned, all the DPIs that are there. And I think India has embraced them, and the government has been very aggressively pursuing these initiatives. And we have it has made things far more accessible. I mean, if you take even things like the direct benefit transfers, which has eliminated a lot of the middleman and leakage. So the benefits go to the real people, and there is impact as a result. So I think the localization, I would say, has to be viewed in the larger context of that whole that benefit. What is the impact when you bring in these technologies? When you have that kind of a mission focus around DPI, and I think what I believe is it should lead to the impact is reflected if there is agency among the users. So once you have the agency, they're able to embrace it. I mean, I like if you see the ubiquitous things like the QR code everywhere, everybody recognizes. It's so common. Yet there are only maybe 70 odd crore people out of the 137 crore population who are residents in India who have access to smartphones. So there are these others who don't have. Who are they being excluded? Do they have access to it? Are there migrant single women in some corner in some city looking, trying to make a living? Can they access? So localization is assumes that there are a lot of pillars and there is a infrastructure which is evenly distributed and accessible to all. So I would say you get to localization, but first you need to have all these other things working with it.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, as you said, I think smartphone, getting access to the internet, for example, some of the transformations, for example, the digital public infrastructure or what Geo did by, giving smartphones and access to the internet into the hands of the common person has transformed it beautifully, right? Oh, okay. Thank you, Sridhar. Mohan, over to you, right? How do you see this whole hyper localization aspect? How does that intersect with, let's say, culture, behavioral, trust, a lot of nuances that even Sridhar kind of touched upon?
Yeah. No, and first of all, thanks for having me. Um, so as Sridhar said, right, like localization, as it rightly put, is a broader term, right? Previously, people thought, hey, just making the language on the app to be local is localization. But Sridhar rightly put it, like building a local product, not just localization, right? Building a local product takes a very different mindset. Like I'll maybe go a little broad and then narrow, right? In my experience working at ShareChat, where we build products for mostly Bharat users, right? Now, the question is, what is a Bharat user, right? Somebody in Bangalore could fit the profile of what a Bharat user is. The way I like to think about it is people who are not influenced as much about the Western culture. I call everybody Bharat. So to, I have to admit that I would be on that Western culture person, right? But maybe my mom is Bharat, right? So it's like the same family, but my mom is Bharat. I may not be in that Bharat cohort. Now, to answer your question, then what is the difference for Bharat cohort, right? So as a product builder, so there are many different nuances, right? One is if I cannot relate to the use case because that use case is not my use case. I watch Netflix, my mom watches, let's say, ShareChat, right? So if I cannot relate to the use case, I need to work extra harder to be closer to my user to understand why do they or how do they use a product, how do they interact with technology, what are their challenges. And one big thing which we figured out that unfortunately Bharat users are also not willing to complain about products, right? When we talk to them, mostly the answer is everything is good, your product is good, everything is right? They do not generally voice their opinion when you talk to them and ask, hey, why do you think this is not working? They will say, no, it's all fine, I don't have time, that's all right. So you need to like put an extra effort to really understand if they're not telling you that what are the problems they are facing. I'll give you a few examples, right? As you said, like on an app, putting something in English or something in text, you could expect a Western person to understand. Okay, I'll read it. There's just one line, no big deal. Every user will understand, right? What we have noticed and figured out through observation of data and how people use, if there is any pop-up in an app, people just close the app because they don't know what happened. There's like something happened, I don't know what to do. Let me close the app, right? And then restart. It is just a innocent pop-up which is like gives you some information, you can cross it. But the way people behave, it is something went wrong, I don't know what to do, I'll just close the app and restart it, right? That's one of the behavior. Second is with, let's say, payments, right? The amount of trust people put, it generally is on the extremes. So sometimes they're very trusting, and that can have a lot of implications around bad actors doing fraud. And once they meet that fraud, they just swing completely on the opposite direction, that, hey, I will never do any transaction digitally because somewhere some bad person did some fraud with me, right? So they they really want the technology which we are all building. However, the way they interact, the interfaces they have, and the mental models they have are quite different. And the challenge is the people who are building that technology may not always understand and relate to that user. And that's where a big divide becomes. If you're not able to understand, talk to them, live their life, then you have to work really, really hard and not make assumptions. Another assumption I'll tell you, right? Like we talked about geo. For the longest time, everybody thought about, hey, data is solved. Data is free, almost very cheap. Everybody has enough data. Don't bother about data. Build good products, right? What we observed looking at a lot of data and then talking to people is most people in Bharat have this plan of 1 GB per day data plan, right? They don't have Wi-Fi. They don't have unlimited data. They have limited data much more than what they had before, but it is still limited. And the way they operate daily is to ration that data. That, hey, during the day, I will spend this much data on all the things. And in the night, I will keep, let's say, 300 MBs for watching videos, like the use case which we have, right? So, and if you get over with 300 MB, yeah, I will close the app because next day my plan resets, I will use it. So it doesn't matter how good the content you have, how good the algorithm you have, they just don't have the data. They have the budget of the data and they distribute it throughout the day. And those are the insights. When you talk to users, you look at data, you figure out that data is not fully solved. For me, I may have like 10 GB data usage every day. It doesn't matter. I have Wi-Fi, right? Unlimited. But for them, it is always 1 GB and also rationed. So I really need to work hard to make sure I'm not consuming a lot of data for those users if I really want to serve them. So yeah, like in summary, like there's a divide between who is building for whom and they don't relate. And in that situation, we need to work extra hard to be closer to them, to understand how they are using it, and also maybe look at behavioral data and not be stuck to some assumptions that, hey, some things are already solved, even though they may not be.
Yeah, no, that I think those are some beautiful insights, and right, and that will only happen when you deeply look at how your customer is using, where your customer is located. Go to the customer site to see that, okay, really, how much of bandwidth do they have? What do they care for? I probably want to add one thing. This is about the one of the very popular story app, which is called as Pratilipi. And there was a very beautiful insight which was shared in a couple of months back in Times of India. What they see is that a lot of popular women writers on their platform are women who come from rural areas. And the prime time when they use the app is after 10 o'clock, after the entire household work has been done. Because during the day, they do not get the time. That is the time when they have time for themselves. They are able to sit, they are able to. And guess what? The most popular genre in these female writers was horror, right? Now, these kind of things you will get to know only when you go understand the environment of your users really well. Yeah, thank you so much, Mohan. Some brilliant insights over there. Sridhar, I'm kind of going to build on a couple of things which Mohan said, right? I mean, as our users have evolved, as the environments have evolved, technology has evolved. The mental models are also evolving in terms of how they are consuming the products and all that. Now, somebody who is very deeply, in the design space and, continuously our DPI products, associated, I would say, other apps which are leveraging them, they are kind of constantly evolving. What are some of your insights in terms of, I would say, maybe more cultural and usage nuances that you have observed?
Okay. Yeah, I think that's gets us more into how do we build for Bharat, the theme that you're referring to,
Correct.
which is see, I we spoke about how there has to be availability of the technology. It should be accessible, and only then the inclusive, and then you make it convenient for people to participate through localization and things like that. So there are several layers at which we are, and I think different, at least in the public services space, or there are different kinds of user experiences we have because of the sheer diversity and sheer numbers and scale of a country which is unique. So you do have something very uh, seamless and experience like a say Digi Yatra, or but yet you do have certain things which uh, are take time, they don't work. There are challenges with other systems that we try to consume out here. So I think the to build, see, the assumption that you build and they will come is not doesn't start or end with that. You don't just build, put it out there, and they'll come. But we need to go a few more steps further to make invite people to come, or uh, make them discover and use the. So for example, let me give a so in, let's say, we have a uh, face authentication product within UIDI, which will be rolled out at some point. And when we were doing some testing, there is in a rural setting, a person was to authenticate in a touchless manner, right? So you had the person do the face off. The thing came up on the screen, and the person stares into the screen. But the face off doesn't work unless, because one of the parameters for it to work is what we call a liveness. So the person has to blink typically, and we detect that, so we know that the person is real behind, and then we can test. But when the person looks at that, this in a rural setting, the person looks at the screen. I mean, he sees an image of himself, and he doesn't want to blink, because you don't blink when your photo is being taken, right? You don't look good. So, how do I communicate that? Should I communicate it? I mean, there is a text out there, but can I read it? Or should I use icons, or should I use a combination? So, these are, I think we can't sort of normalize a certain uh, uh, for a certain mental model, because there are so many variations. So I would say, when we build that initial, however robust it is, it still needs to be tested out. And so one of the most important things that anybody venturing to build for Bharat should do is very detailed or deep research. You need to go out, know your users, uh, talk to them, do mocks, especially if you're building a product, get them to uh, respond to it, take feedback. I would say research is going to be a cornerstone out here, and good qualitative research in your markets. And from there on, you would probably get a product fit, which is probably going to be more acceptable and inclusive.
Yeah. Very well said, Sridhar. I mean, in a country where every 50 kilometers, the dialect changes, there is a change in the environment, the perceptions are very different. I think it is very, very important to deeply understand your users' these things, right? So kind of very well put out. Now, I'm going to, address the storm, not the Bangalore storm, but the larger storm across the globe that we all are going through in the technology space, which is the AI storm, right? Now, we know that there is a lot of goodness just by the sheer evolution of what the technology can do, that we have been able to solve a lot of new set of lot of new problems which were not earlier solved with traditional softwares, right? And I have this question for Mohan. Mohan, now, as I said, there are a lot of user behaviors are different. For example, every 50 kilometers, as I said, there is a dialect change that happens. There are accent variances that are happening. Just the temperament, openness to the technology, whether you're using a feature phone versus you're using a let's say voice-based phone. There are a lot of different behaviors that happen, right? Now, for a product like yours, which is so extensively dependent on these user behaviors, are you leveraging AI? How is it really helping?
Yeah. So very rightly put, right? In terms of AI and more specifically around generative AI, right? I think that is been the talk of the world for last 2 years, right? At least in technology space. And the good thing is that as a industry, I think we're making very, very rapid progress, right, across the world. In the context of Bharat, the unfortunate thing is the incentives for building for Bharat on AI are, I don't see aligned yet, right? It will eventually happen, just like internet, just like data, right? It eventually happens, but there is a lag. Maybe India one gets it 5 years, 10 years ahead. Because again, as I was saying, the way it is structured, even today, even in Gen AI, right? You have maybe the top 5 companies in the world who are at the forefront of it. For them, their priority is to build for a US audience. And then, as I was saying, people like me who are India one, influenced by Western culture, uh, aligned to Western culture to some extent, the technology is built for a US audience can work for me, right? However, that may not work for Bharat. So the way it is, like maybe for the first 5, 10 years, everybody will build for US and people like India one would get to use it for free because it's being built for somebody else. And then somebody who is like maybe in this audience or people like us will figure out, no, we need to do it for India too and Bharat as well. And that's where maybe we need to figure out a good business model or an incentive to repurpose these technologies or maybe evolve them to make it work for India too, right? So specifically to your question, how are we doing it? Because we are a company primarily focused on Bharat, I would say we are at the forefront of doing the latter, as I was saying, like taking these Gen AI technologies, figuring out uh, what is a model which can work, which is cost efficient and it works both ways for the user as well. Because Gen AI, everything you use on Gen AI is pretty costly, right? So what we have started using it in various different flows. For example, news creation, right? As I said, Bharat users don't like to read. And nobody likes to read, like you're not a Bharat user, and nobody wants to read big text. Everybody wants to watch video, right? But you do not get those videos for Bharat users created in real time. So what we are doing, for example, for news content, right? Uh, we are taking any breaking news, we are using Gen AI to translate that news into a video where you can see characters and people characters generated from Gen AI, narration generated through Gen AI, and in real time convert it into a video and send it as a notification to our users. So instead of now reading a text or a news article, they are getting to see a video about it in real time. Maybe an anchor will record it 1 hour later, but we'll do it in 2 minutes, right? And we can also personalize it to each and specific user's taste as well. So we can generate 10,000 stories a day, convert it into a video and send it to the people who care about it. You would not have 10,000 anchors who are doing news in India. Maybe now, but yeah. So those are the things where we're using it, where you can marry the technology to the interests of the people. Interest in this case would be consuming videos rather than reading. The use case being, hey, I want to know the news, but I don't want to read. And the technology which allows you to take this text and news article, put some prompting on it, make it more accessible and convert it into video in real time. So that's how, like, that's one example. The other is around fraud prevention. Another thing we do a lot about moderations, right? If you say a word in Hindi or maybe write it as a sentence, your Western models may flag it that, hey, this is abusive, even though in the Indian context, that might be the way people speak, right? So those are some places where we are tailoring the existing technology to work for people in Bharat.
Awesome. I have a follow-up question on that, Mohan. You spoke about that, for example, we all have moved from long form video to short form video, and right, that is a very anchoring point for Moj, right? So the question I have is that this fundamental shift of, moving away from typing and moving to becoming voice as the first form of interaction is kind of broadly seeping in, at least in a lot of global products. I see that. How do you see that, especially given that there is so much of variations in terms of, let's say, the dialects, the accents? How is that catching up, and do you also see voice becoming the first mode of interaction?
Definitely, like voice, at least for Bharat, is definitely the preferred mode of interaction, right? Even on WhatsApp, the way we observe people, I think primarily they use voice notes as a way of communicating. I don't think people are typing messages. Um, and in the thing about dialects and languages, uh, I think it's a mixed bag today. As I was saying, like all the Gen AI models are primarily built in English, now maybe Chinese as well, right? And then the way it works today is translation, right? You take input in English, you do your understanding generation, whatever in English, and then there is a thin layer which translates that English into the regional language, right? uh, it works, but it doesn't work great. Like in terms of if I give you a text and tell a Gen AI model to create a video and a speech out of that, it will do a perfect job if you have to do it in English. If you say do it in Hindi, it will do probably maybe 70% there. If you say do it in Kannada, maybe it will do 50% there, right? So the point is, just because the incentives are not aligned, uh, people in regional languages are not getting to use the best possible product, right? You are getting to use maybe 50% as good as what an English user is getting. So there is challenges, to be very honest, right? As I was saying, eventually definitely will get solved. I think what we can do is figure out ways to make it work from an incentive perspective so that that can happen sooner. Instead of people needing to wait 5 years, can they get this technology maybe in 2 years, right? But for that to happen, we need to make sure that the incentives are aligned. It could be through government, through commercial businesses doing it, but we need to figure out, because it takes a lot of investment to make the model work in Canada. You would need a lot of investment. There are some AI startups in the country who are trying to do it, but yeah, in terms of resourcing, they are maybe 100x lower than what an OpenAI or a Meta is uh, attacking the same problem with.
Right. No, that's right. I mean, I think we are getting started on that journey, but still there is a long way to go. Right. Thank you, Mohan. Okay, Sridhar, you spoke about earlier about, while we spoke about a lot of goodness in the AI space, and it has definitely opened up a lot of corridors, if I may say that. But then there is also a lot of aspects. For example, as Mohan said, translating from English to Kannada, it may just change the whole meaning. It may just change the whole context, right? So in this kind of a setup, there is a lot of agency that a user has to own up, right? So can you elaborate that on that?
Yeah, yeah, great. I think research, Mohan touched on some very crucial points. And I think uh, for all the people doing any kind of innovation or trying to build for Bharat as products, I think these questions, we have to go deeper in it. The academic institutions, industry, yeah, everybody has to work jointly. And I think the fact is, we all know, see, historically, I mean, thousands of years back, India was traditionally has been an oral culture. Everything, the traditions, everything passed by oral. So, as our famous, our renowned linguist and professor Ganesh Devi says, a language is really what is that vocabulary, that sound, that thing that we retain in our heads. The script or the lipi that we is mapped onto that. So I mean, I could represent any spoken word in any script for that matter, right? But the language really is that sound we associate with, that oralness. I think we have been that, and our histories have been written by different people, right from Megasthenes way back to Archimagunda, if you say. And I think there are so many interpretations for all these. And so, like what Mohan was pointing out, most of these foundation models, which costed billions to trade, pre-trading of all that, the underlying language inside that is a lot of text, and the text is definitely not a language of our of Bharat, right, region. So typically, I mean, I've heard this even from some of the AI for Bharat initiative, which is an amazing initiative. What they have done, which is, and they spoke about it. So even if you start as an interaction level in any of the regional languages of India, it gets translated ultimately into English, and it gets processed in English, and it comes back. So the thing is that language itself is so bound tightly to culture. So I just want to talk about one example from an interaction with a very senior professor at NIMHANS. And when you talk of even mental cognitive capabilities, so how do you test a person for a certain cognitive capacity? So there are a lot of tests, and those kind of tests involve various tasks, and some are language based, and language and culture are related. So often a lot of tests have come from the West, like the Cantar tests and things like that, which test a person's, it would have, let's say, something to do, test the memory. So it may have a long passage. John went to the mill, the flour mill, and did this, or and the windmill and things like that. So there would be terms and references which a local person, say Mahadevappa in Mysore, would not relate to. So how do you repurpose those tests? To test the underlying cognitive mechanisms through the language. So language has the very strong tie to the culture of the region, and it varies, right? So I think that investment should we build for ourselves. I think today it sounds like luxury, like Mohan pointed out, China is building. So how do we look at that? And I think there is some amount of narrative also, where there are certain people who have been talking in the academic sphere about decolonizing knowledge networks, where we can bring in a non-Western perspective also into it. So I think some of these more fundamental kind of work as foundational also needs to happen alongside the technology that we are exploring. So I would say, I mean, from a coming to the point of speech and voice, I mean, the example Mohan mentioned, a lot of people, like I do know there is a person I know in a farmer. He communicates to me, I'm sure, because he's frustrated that the primary mechanism to communicate, that is in the user interface, is text oriented. It's like it's designed for people to type, but he, as an alternative to the frustration of not being able to type, because he's knowledgeable and he can speak, he's intelligent, but he can't read and write for whatever reason in that language. So he found that he can press the mic and he speaks and he sends a speech note. So my point is, while there are these alternatives, the real success would be where the voice-based access to that becomes the primary. So can we re-architect our apps so they are not? It's not about being globally common. Like some of these apps are global, so global companies, so they have a very standard way of doing it. Their design systems are standard, so it's easier to maintain, it's easier to build, it's easier to put something superior technically. But from Bharat point of view, if you say it has to be about voice first, then how do I design the app to be voice being the primary interface while typing is a secondary? How do you create that? So these are, I'm just putting these hypothetical questions here. It's just anecdotal. And the idea is to think differently about it, and technology to make it inclusive is how I see it going.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, it's a behavioral shift that also needs to be represented in the products, the digital products that we build in order to enable that and to bring it that as a practice, right? So, Mohan, since a lot of things that Sridhar spoke about, right? There is a shift in the user behavior. There has to be, of course, initiatives, whether public, private, or however it happens. There has to be definitely a focus where we kind of make these languages much more inclusive, because that itself will indirectly enable a huge population across Bharat to be part of the larger mainstream, digital transformation journey. But going beyond that, especially being a product leader, right? Especially who's building products for Bharat. Now, see, Gen AI as a product is kind of being accessible to everybody, right? And we have seen a huge number of products which are coming on that application layer, trying to leverage these various capabilities available. So, do you see, especially to capture this untapped market of Bharat, do you see more and more voice agents, AI-driven services, vernacular co-pilots? Do you see more of them coming? Is kind of share chat doing something around that?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think uh, as I was saying, like tying back to the previous thing, right? Given most of the Western companies are focused on Western markets and the behaviors of Bharat and Western folks are different, it definitely creates a big opportunity uh, for people who want to build for Bharat, right? You know, maybe the OpenAIs of the world will not build anything for Bharat for next 5 years at least, right? So you get a 5 year head start to really go deeper, understand the user and build something for them. However, as I was saying, the biggest challenge I see is around making those incentives work. There's a big opportunity. What Gen AI and things, technology like do allow is you don't really, for a lot of tasks, let's say basic consultation with a doctor, right? Not taking a medical advice, but still like figuring out what my symptoms are, what should I do, what home remedies are, about education if you have doubts, or even on advanced concept, right? Where you need a PhD professor, otherwise you can use a Gen AI model, right? So all of these problems are like very fundamental problems for Bharat. We do not have great solutions for them. And doing it via people, as in like having a professor for every user, is again infeasible. In that scenario, like Gen AI does seem like an amazing solution to that problem. So like the building blocks are there, right? You have a great technology which can solve for very deep pressing problem for Bharat. There is less competition in terms of many Western companies trying to build for it. What somebody needs to do, and that's the genius of a builder, is figuring out how you can marry the two along with making it financially sustainable for you to do it, right? Today, the cost of Gen AI is expensive. They are not tailored for Bharat. So you need to figure out what a business model could be. How can you efficiently tailor that technology for Bharat? And on the user side, how can you bring some interfaces, as Sridhar was also mentioning? How do the interfaces become Bharat first, right? So that's what a great builder needs to do. And hopefully, many people will try because of the opportunity being there. And I'm like very excited to see how we and maybe other people who will build on this space, what kind of new things we create, because we definitely need to create something new, right? As Sridhar mentioned, you cannot just use the same interfaces and you cannot use the same technology, copy paste and make it work for Bharat. You need to be ingenious in trying to tying them together for the kind of users you're trying to serve.
Yeah. Very well said. Absolutely. It's a multi-paradigm aspect. Yeah. So, Sridhar, while we spoke to about a lot of, the use cases and possibilities in the larger B2C kind of setup. I want to kind of double down and especially kind of trying to tie down a couple of things here. Our MSMEs, for example, they are a larger part, which is also kind of, I would say, largely untapped, right? So, I mean, with AI as a technology, especially, trying to see that if we can build in more products that can be more inclusive to build products for these MSMEs. What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so I think it's a fantastic point that you're connecting that. Look, technology such as AI, why with all its convenience and the joy or efficiencies, it is not just about the conventional automate or augment existing ways of doing it. In fact, according to one of my favorite authors, Sangeet Paul Chaudhary, it is not just not about when this technology comes in, it's not just about augment or automate, but actually when we integrate with the technology, the very tasks itself change. So the way I would design, the way we write code, the way we work, they all change. The way we, lawyers, you name it, it's touching everybody. So specifically, I think if you look at it, more of the large organized sector, they have enough maturity, capital, and wherewithal to have multiple specialities of and collaboration to be able to pursue their growth or whatever their goals are. But an MSME is often struggling to break out with their restricted in terms of access. They can't afford. So there's almost like some sort of a barrier for them. So I would say with this technology, I think with AI, basically it is democratization. It's not the technology, it is democratizing the knowledge, right? So they are able to, so MSME it can't afford a marketing head, they can enlist an AI agent to do that. They can't afford product design or some copywriting or some sales strategy or something. So they can use these. So I think these technologies can enable a lot of that. In fact, there's a very interesting data point I saw recently. Somebody was mentioning that there is this company called Carta, which issues so many, which is sort of the go-to place for ESOPs for almost all, at least American or global corporations, to manage all their ESOP schemes. And they reported that there has been post the AI, there has been a significant rise in solo founders. So it looks like it's not. So when you suddenly have so many, a smaller company with lesser resources is able to do a lot more. I think that is how things will change even for us. And if we are able to through localization, through accessibility, through inclusivity, being able to creating the right ecosystem and including financial incentives, this can clearly help even build towards our goal of Viksit Bharat.
Absolutely. And just talking about the data point, 6x growth, I'm one of them as a solo founder. And absolutely, like these Gen AI tools and this thing has made it far more easier to operate. Okay, just while I have still a few questions in my kitty, but I'm going to go to one of the questions that has been asked in the chat, and also we are almost over the time now. This is from Vaidyanath, where he's asking, building products for the country India versus Bharat need to address the behavioral aspect of local, the B2C use cases. Can you address on use cases of Indianized product creations on leveraging these for making India a product nation? Anybody can take that question.
Mohan is working that closely on that. So
Yeah, I'll take a stab. I did not fully understand the question, to be honest, but I'll like try to go with what I am understanding, right?
Would
Maybe
you,
what I'm understanding is
sorry, Mohan, would you
yeah,
like Vaidyanathan to just ask you the
yeah,
question directly?
yeah.
Vaidhi, you want to do that? Can we? Yeah, there he is.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for permitting me, Kavita. Um, I think this was a fantastic. Thanks for the elaborate coverage on building products for the country. That's what I said. I think, Malti, you missed the first sentence of my question, I guess. First, I was complimenting the
Oh,
Sridhar and Mohan for a tremendous coverage on creating product for Bharat as against India. That came out very well, understanding the sensitivities of language and the behavioral aspects. That's great. So my question was a little more specifically saying that for the B2B use cases, when we try to talk of product creation for India, Viksit Bharat, if we say, for India to become a product nation, we need to adapt, use these contemporary technologies. What are your thoughts? How should our entrepreneurs look at that? How will that get dovetailed into every aspect of running an organization, creating a product? Over to you. Thank you.
Okay, sorry.
Well,
I think this is clearer. So there's this guy in Bangalore called Murli who's who meets everybody wherever he goes. He cycles to it. He's a cycling champion, and he's passionate, and he runs Namma Cycle Foundation, and he's doing amazing things. So he's been working, and I've been talking to him for some time on how we can build a Bharat open cycle spec. So basically, his observation is that all these cycles, the bicycles that people use, the common people, have been is an imported technology. In fact, nowadays, even you buy the newer ones that are imported, like in the Western countries where they don't need those mud guards, they come without them. You need to buy that as accessory. But in a country like ours, where there is so much slush, there will be potholes, there will be things. There's a different our infrastructure. So roads and rural areas, you do need that. So his point is also about even gender. Now, if you say women with saris, there is no proper cycle really for them, because it's not just about them cycling from a place to this, but they also need to carry things. He talks about how postmen go in cycles also. So I'm just taking this as a category. I mean, there could be so many if you start looking, because I'm talking about Indianize. Now, how how should we even approach this? It's not about AI or anything. It's about ergonomics, human factors. It is about recognizing the challenge that the average everyday Indian in has as a and how do I design for that? Why do we have a spec which we have to work with? Why can't we build our own spec? So these are, I mean, something from a maintenance point of view, from a usage point of view, things. So I would just place that on the table as an example. Okay, it's only to make you think. So and look, like when you said entrepreneurs, what can they do? They need to go out there and with an open mind, and that's why I was the earlier point about research. You could do a more structured, formal way of exploring that, but it's you need to have that mind to identify why is this like this? How do I change it?
yeah, very well put together, Sridhar. Mohan, do you have any additional thing that you want to add to it?
No, I think Sridhar captured it beautifully. I think that covers it.
Okay, all right. I also see another hand raised from Padma. Maybe this could be the last question because we are well above the time. Padma, you want to unmute yourself and ask the question?
can we unmute Padma?
Yeah, I have given a request to Padma.
Okay. In the meantime, I think there's another question by Sridhar. My question to build for Bharat. I will see how our public digital infrastructure, I still see how our public digital infrastructure of various government department lacks accessibility options. It is so difficult for people from differently abled people to access the infrastructure. I think it's a statement that is Vinay, I think.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I think he's absolutely right. I am inside one of those places, and we're trying to change. I am an outsider who's in here, and I think I see an intent is there to change. I think it will take time because the complexity, the scale of it. I mean, like even something like we are thinking, even something like an Aadhaar Seva Kendra, um, somebody with a walker would find it difficult to access if they have to go to the center. So there are certain measures like, okay, if you're very senior, you can use a service like they can come home and do the biometrics and so that few things. So at a small, for a small nominal fee. So I mean, we have to think innovatively about how we design these services to be inclusive and accessible. And going and digital is definitely one very powerful way to help address these kind of accessibility challenges.
Thank you, Sridhar. Padma, I think is Padma, you want to ask the question? Are you there? Okay. There's one more question from Sridhar. My question is specific to robotics with AI, considering safety and labor shortage in the coming days. What is the level of readiness for made in India robots? How are we building the ecosystem for from root level? I don't know if it is relevant for either of you, but you would like to answer.
I can take a stab and then maybe Sridhar can also add to it, right? I think robotics, like you can put it in two ways, right? One is industrial automation, which we used to call industrial automation. And then you put Gen AI on top of it, it becomes robotics for industries, where you can use it for production, for manufacturing. I think that has been happening pretty well across the world and also in India. Uh, in those setups where it's an assembly line and production, are there big differences between India and a Western world in terms of what the use cases are? Maybe not as much, right? So a technology which works in America also works in India. Yes, there are cost implications. Uh, Outside of that, in terms of, hey, does that technology need to be very different to work in Indian assembly lines? Maybe not. If you also meant about humanoid robots, that I think the question is, are we ready for made in India robotics? I would say maybe no, right? Humanoid robots are not even ready to be made anywhere else in the world as well. So I would not feel that it's ready in India. Uh, some people are working on it. My personal opinion is it would take considerable amount of time just for the reason you mentioned, primarily around safety and acceptability by general population on having a machine who looks like you and walks among you and always having that fear of that technology. I think personally, I feel at least we are 10 years away. I know Elon Musk has been promising it for last 5 years. But yeah, maybe self-driving cars would be much before that, even in India. But yeah, humanoid robots would still be far away. Sridhar, did you want to
Yeah,
add something?
sorry. I think absolutely, I agree with you on that. And I think, see, there are interesting how it's not about readiness so much as what can be done. So I think, if I borrow an example from the defense sector, that we saw some recent huge successes in the drone tech from homegrown companies in the defense, which were deployed during the operations Hindu, etc. I would say the it's like if you take in US, a lot of like DARPA there has sponsored so much, and a lot of innovations have come like internet onwards, or so many things have come out of that kind of research. So a certain level of sponsorship definitely at a large scale drives that kind of costs of innovation and makes it accessible. And I think on robotics front also probably we will see that there has to be it is all these are all related tech. And I think talent is not a challenge in our country. Talent is there. I think it is only about some entrepreneurs setting their mind to it. And there are self-driving cars. There's somebody in MP or somewhere, I've forgotten the name. I mean, I think even in IIT Madras Incubation Center under Professor Junjunwala, there have been some pretty interesting things coming out in terms of these next generation of technology. So I think readiness is not about that product specific, but at that capacity and capability of at the talent, the material science, the engineering of these things, the mechanicals, the whole ability to test it, apply for different industries and scenarios. And I think we will definitely not be behind. Yeah, I think we have to go at our own pace probably, but yeah, I don't. I think uh, to me, I'm positive about it. To me, the glass is half full.
Thank you. I know it's time, but there are a couple of questions, quick answers. What does it take to be a product nation? And according to you, which are the top three product companies in India? This is from Shivyogi. Anyone want to take a stab at it? Three of you, any of you?
Yeah, maybe I'll go, right. If again, not top three, I would say the two companies I feel have done tremendously well, Indian companies, in terms of building technology products, right? Product could mean a lot of other things as well, but technology products, one, I would definitely say Flipkart, right? As a startup, it has like, in a way, it is the godfather of Indian startups, maybe after in the newer generation of 21st century. And secondly, I think I admire a lot is all the India Stack work which was done, right? Both of them had deep technical work done in terms of building a very complicated, scalable system and has had a big impact. One in the Flipkart, in a way, inspiring hundreds of startups which exist in the country today and creating this culture about entrepreneurship, building products for India, and India Stack for all the amazing things which is done, right? I don't think I need to name any of those, but yeah. So those are the two top which I really admire, and I wanted to mention that. Maybe over to Sridhar. What
I
is it?
can probably talk about at least, two new business models, which I do believe has this thing. One is, I think, Meesho. I mean, they're literally category creator, right? Especially for women in India, the reseller category. And the other one I would say would be Zerodha, right? Again, that is a completely new business model, enabling the next generation, for example, going more finance first. I think those are two things. I mean, of course, beyond the names that Mohan suggested. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sridhar, over to you.
No,
So,
I completely agree, and I think I mean, while I'm excited about things like UPI, which has been such a game changer, cutting across society, I would say, yeah, we need more such products, and I would say, to me, the question should be not which are the top three product companies, but which will be the top three product companies in 2047. I would say that's what the question should be. And
Yeah.
if you can imagine for that, I would say that'll be fantastic.
Sridhar, you have any predictions for that 2047?
No, I won't dare right now.
Okay. I know there's one more question. I don't know. It's 4:45. Are you all okay if I ask you the question? We It is from Chandan Patti. Where is the gap in building apps like Twitter, Instagram? As we see, the speed of adoption is very fast globally for the new age apps like DeepSeek. On the other side, India based apps like Koo are still growing at a smaller pace. Very quick answer from any of you.
Yeah, I think I am well suited to answer that.
Yes, I think so too.
Yeah. So I think that's a fair question, right? I don't think it's unfair. I think the difference would be there are like primarily two differences in a way. Uh, I kept talking about it multiple times. One enormous thing about any business would be around commercialization, right? Uh, no matter what we say, as a GDP per capita, we would not be like anywhere close to Western countries, right? So if you give an example of Twitter or Meta, right? These products were built for, let's say, a Western audience. In terms of monetization, they are able to do maybe 100x more per user compared to what they do in India. And that provides them a lot of resources to invest in technology, continue building and build great products. You gave example of Ku. Ku again targeted to a Bharat audience would earn per user, even by building exactly the same product, maybe 1/100th of the amount of revenue would a Meta would earn, right? So what happens is products which work for all kinds of audiences, there is always this economic incentive that it works very well for Western audiences because of the monetization. And that's the reason where it gives those companies a lot of resources to invest in R&D and really scale those products very, very well. So unfortunately, that's maybe the honest answer to that question.
Thank you.
If I may just, if you permit me, I think, this has been top of the mind since the question is, I think one product that we need to redesign more than more social networks is, can somebody design a better exam system to evaluate and assess, which is not excluding millions of people. I mean, when I see the statistics of how many people get into competitive exams after their 12th, like 14 lakh people appear, and maybe only 2 lakh are select shortlisted. Why should that happen? One is, of course, there is infrastructure. There things are changing, but I feel something as simple as I mean, it's been back of my head. Can we redesign that MCQ or an OMR sheet, which has been designed for an old kind of technology, which is like scan when you take an answer sheet. I mean, with all the AI, why can't we reimagine where a child in some rural setting speaks into a phone and an AI on the other hand does the grading? So, I think those are the kind of products we need. Sorry.
Yeah,
20,
I agree.
2047, sir.
No, it needs to be done much earlier.
Okay. Yeah, we can Malti, closing words from you all, and then we can move on. Rama ma'am wants to give a vote of thanks, so we'll do that.
Yeah. And as I predicted, with this kind of a powerhouse panel, between Sridhar and Mohan, it was impossible to close it on time. And I'm super glad. In fact, I just had few questions which I was not able to finish off, but I'm glad that, audience found value and they were thinking. But again, thanks a lot, Sridhar and Mohan, to, share your perspectives. And hopefully we have many more answers of top product companies, as Sridhar said, and not be only like one or two that comes on top of our mind. So yep, over to you, Rama ma'am and Kavita. Thank you.
Thank you. And there are some questions. If either of you want to type the answers out, you can while we are closing. We want you all to stay till the end because we are playing a little video on the LCR Summit, and we will also tell you how to get complimentary passes. So before that, I would like to introduce an icon. To close this remarkable curtain raiser, thank you so much, first of all. It was remarkable, I should say. We are honored to welcome someone who's been the heart of Electronic City's evolution. She's worn many hats, from leading global delivery at Infosys to serving as CEO of both Elcita and Elsia. As a telecom and R&D engineer, she's built everything from telephones to satellite systems, and as a leader, she's built communities, innovation ecosystems, and vision. And I don't know what we would do without her. She currently serves as an advisor to Elsia and sits on multiple boards, bringing her sharp insight and vast experience to everything she touches. Please help me in welcoming Rama ma'am for the thank you note to all of you. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, Kavita, for your kind words. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of ELSIA and the organizing committee of ELSIA Tech Summit 2025, I extend heartfelt thanks to all of you for joining us today for this thought-provoking and deeply insightful pre-summit webinar, Building for Bharat, the Localization-First Tech Playbook. First and foremost, a big thank you to our distinguished speakers, Mr. Sridhar Dulipala for his lucid articulation of design thinking for inclusion and the role of Uday in shaping user-centric digital infrastructure. Mr. Mohan Gupta for bringing in product lens and walking us through how ShareChat is building for real India, one voice, one language, one experience at a time. Our moderator, Ms. Malati SS, for navigating this dialogue so gracefully and anchoring the conversation around what truly matters. Tech that reaches and resonates with every Indian. The curtain raiser was truly set the tone for LCR Tech Summit 2025, where we will continue to explore how humans and machines can come together and find meaning to shape the future. The session was more than a webinar. It was a reminder that smart is not enough. Technology must be empathetic, accessible, and designed for the real world diversity. From vernacular user face to voice first interfaces and last mile usability, today's discussion will certainly shape the conversations we will carry into the main summit on July 25th at the Otera Hotel, Electronic City. A warm thank you to all our attendees for your presence, questions, and energy. Your enthusiasm keeps this initiative alive. We look forward to seeing you at the LCR Tech Summit 2025, where we continue these meaningful conversations under the broader theme, Humans, Machines, and Meaning 2.0. Till then, stay inspired and keep building for Bharat. Thank you once again and have a wonderful evening. Thanks you one and all. Thank you.
Ma'am, thank you. Thank you for that warm thank you note. For everybody who's here and who want to join us for the summit on July 25th, just go to our website, lcrtechsummit.in, and get your complimentary pass. What you saw today is just a drop in the ocean of what you're going to get on July 25th. It's just going to be an incredible experience, well-rounded, with leaders across different organizations and coming and sharing their knowledge. We're going to share a short video with all of you now. Like I said, go to our website, get a complimentary pass, and come and meet us in person on July 25th. Thank you. Thank you, Sridhar, Mohan, and Malti, for taking time out of your busy schedules and being with us today. Now let's play the video.
Are you ready to build the future of India? Welcome to the LCR Tech Summit 2025, where visionaries, innovators, and industry leaders come together to shape what's next. This year, we are going beyond code. Our spotlight is on the rise of physical AI, robotics, sensors, and automation, powering the next wave of industrial transformation in India. Join us to explore how intelligent, connected physical systems are redefining what's possible, from smart manufacturing to inclusive real-world solutions for Bharat. Experience live demos, bold innovations, and hands-on sessions designed for product leaders and professionals like you. Network with the brightest minds and be part of the community driving India's tech revolution. Don't miss the most awaited tech gathering of the year. Register now at lcrtechsummit.in and be where ideas, industry, and impact